The National Youth Conference of the Churches of Christ was founded in 1952 by the late Orum L. Trone Sr. and his lovely Georgia Peach, his wife Christine. At a time when opportunities for Christian fellowship among young people were rare and confined to local areas, the Trones became visionaries who could foresee the future of the church through the eyes of the youth. In the early years, the efforts of the Trones were supported by other great men of God who understood the need for such a conference. The first set of additional directors included Alvin Atkinson of Tennessee, Calvin Bowers from California, Dual Gant of Illinois, and Carl Swanigan from Michigan. Later came the additions of Jesse Bishop and Orum L. Trone Jr. of Michigan, Ron Palmer from Washington, and Ernest Deacon Wyrick of Texas. These men enjoyed the respect and support of churches of Christ across the brotherhood. As the conference grew in attendance, Trone Sr. recognized the need for perpetuity. He appointed several younger men with a commitment to the annual event and added them as assistant directors at various stages across the years. The young men serving in this capacity were James Kevin Murray, Willard Krigler, and Fate Haygood Jr. of California, Jack Evans Jr., Adele Bradley, and Narleski Wyrick, all of Texas, Philip Wade I of New York, Perry Wells and Randy Poole from Michigan, and Darwin Mason Sr. from Tennessee. Having the support of a loving wife and daughters Diane and Laura, who worked alongside him, Trone Sr. recognized the role women played in the conference. Long before he appointed Veronica Williams from Texas as the first female assistant director, women from across the country had served in various capacities to improve the activities for youth attending the annual event. In the 70s and 80s, Bethel Smith and Ruby Vance from California, Vernell Birch and Laura Dawson from Michigan, Dorothy Wells of New York, and Ruth Wyrick of Texas worked behind the scenes to move the conference to the next level. It would be fair to say that every regional, state, or local youth conference has benefited from the determination and grit of the Trones. While the National Youth Conference has been emulated by many, it stands alone as a signature national event for teenagers among the churches of Christ. The friendships, memories, and traditions that have been created among conference attendees since the 1950s are a testament to the vision of the Trones. The desire to ensure that Christian youth across the country were able to create meaningful relationships with their Christian peers was and continues to be at the forefront. As the National Youth Conference continued to evolve in the 1990s and 2000s, its senior leadership transitioned. With the passing of Trone Sr. in 2008, Deacon Wyrick found himself as the lone remaining director left to revive the conference after the recession, which resulted in the first ever cancellation of the storied event. In 2009, Deacon Wyrick collaborated with the 4 remaining assistants, Murray, Wade, Wyrick, and Haygood, who were now directors, to adjust the programming to meet the needs of a new generation of conference attendees. As the team began to hit its stride, the sudden death of Murray in 2013 was a sharp blow to the leadership. Deacon Wyrick regrouped again and began adding young men and women as staff members to help plan the conference that was now growing again. In 2017, the National Youth Conference reached a milestone by finally becoming an official nonprofit organization and a registered charity with both federal and state governments. This designation stabilized the organization, ensuring its history and future would be secure. The next evolution of the conference involved stabilizing its leadership, so the youth being served and adults supporting the event would know the Trone's initial purpose was still being fulfilled. Hoping to restore it to its former glory, Deacon Wyrick spent his last days working to build a team that would carry the conference for years to come. Victor Cathy and Lamont following Ross, his passing in Texas, May 2020, and Gary Jones Jr. from Oklahoma were added as national directors to work with the remaining directors.
Additionally, other women and men from 7 different states were officially added to the National Youth Conference leadership. Committing to this good work as coordinators and organization staff are Audrea McClure, Maryland; Barbara Davis, Mississippi; Carlina Payne, California; Deborah Wade, Texas; Ernest Hodridge, Texas; Faith Haygood III, California; Gary Jones Jr., Oklahoma; Joseph Edwards, Michigan; Lamont Ross, Texas; LaShonda Worthy, Texas; Lee Bryant, Texas; Myra Haygood, California; Pamela Williams, Michigan; Patricia Teamer, Texas; Philip Wade I, Texas; Ramon Hodridge, Texas; Shay Cathy, Texas; Stacy Ross, Texas; Terry Mays, California; Victor Cathy, Texas; Vince Ford, Ohio.
This group is poised to serve the youth at the annual event and operate the evolving conference business year-round, fulfilling the vision of both Orum L. Trone Sr. as the founder and Ernest Deacon Wyrick as the incorporator. In the words of the late Orum L. Trone Sr., how sweet it is.